Any person with common sense knows if you're doing a project at home, you gotta have a plan. Too many times I've done a project, I'm halfway through, and some words slip, and you realize you're in a position where, gosh, I really wish I would have planned this out better. And this has gone south pretty darn quick. And the New England Patriots need to avoid that right here. And I'll jump into it. My name's Aaron. You guys know on the daily, pushing out Patriots content to people just like you. So do me a favor, if you could easily hit the mouse, find that subscribe button, click it, click, boom. Easy enough, mean the world to me as well. Hit the like button and comment below. We got kind of a different question today. My question is this: who is your favorite New England Patriots player? Can't be Tom Brady. Comment below. Would love to hear from you. Second, what we're going to be talking about today, as I said, what the Patriots need to avoid in this offseason leading to the next season in 2025, 2026. As well, we jump into potential trades as well as potential free agent acquisitions. So let's jump into it. First and foremost, we know the New England Patriots have a ton of cap space, an absolute wild amount, the most in the NFL. A lot of teams who are even in the top 10 in cap space don't even have half of what the Patriots have. So they have a lot of money to spend. And with a lot of money to spend, much like my wife at Target, it can be a bad thing. So for the New England Patriots, the one thing they need to avoid is just throwing money around. They are in a great position. Again, Mike Vrabel, yes, he has history with the team. Yes, he has experience. And I think even if the situation was worse, he would still say, I'm going to give New England a chance. I truly do. But I think a lot of other coaches even realized the Patriots are in a good spot. They can really turn this team around with a great offseason. You know that, I know that. But the issue they need to avoid, and what would be a good call, is the fact that they don't need to just be throwing money around, especially if someone slips out of their hands that they really wanted in free agency and they lost, and then making a last-ditch effort on a plan B, C, D, E, F, or G, whatever it might be. That is the last thing you want the Patriots to do, is just start throwing money around, and then the next thing you know, you have B, C, D list players that, sure, they might be a little better than before the team before, but again, you got to get some big tunas in there. You got to get some people that are really going to make a big impact. Yes, you're going to have to spend some money, but again, it's being wise with your money. Just like when you're a kid, you're sat down by your parents, you're given an allowance, you're trying to figure out how to spend it. A lot of times you think, all right, this is exactly what I want. I know there's a toy, but the wise thing to do is, hey, look around. Assess everything around you. Make sure, is this a good decision? But obviously when you're 5 years old, that's a hard decision to make when candy is staring you right in the face at eye level when you're checking out at the store. But it is what it is. So Patriots, Elliott Wolf, please, as we step into this free agency, as we step into possible trades, as we step into the draft, but especially with all this moolah, all this money, please, you guys need to make good decisions. And we know you will. There's some great guys out there, but there's some do's and don'ts in this process. But it is important to remind ourselves as Patriots fans, again, money shouldn't just be thrown around. Be wise with it. Be good. There we go. Here's a term for you. Be good stewards. Good stewards of your money. And so the last thing we need is, one, we spend way too much money on people that, again, don't need that much money, or two, or are worth what they are in that contract, or two, like I said, you're getting some B, C, D listers that it's just like, all right, what are we doing throwing money around like this? We need to be better than this. So that's the first thing. Patriots need to avoid that. Now, second, we jump into a possible trade. Now, people have said this is a possibility. I think it's kind of a pipe dream, but A.J. Brown potentially making comments how, when he was drafted, he wanted to come to the Patriots. He cried. We know that I believe it was him, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf. They all dropped to the second round, which is crazy to think, but they did. They dropped to the second round. We all know that Harry was selected by the Patriots, and that did not turn out so hot. But we look at A.J. Brown. Uh, again, would he be a great number one? Absolutely. I'm not going to question that. But it always is going to come down to this, and you're going to hear me say this multiple times. If you can pick up a free agent and all you're worrying about right there is a new contract and spending money from cap space, that's great. But then when you have to trade for a player and you're most likely giving up draft assets or other players, then it really becomes, okay, we really better get the best end of this deal. Again, look at I know we're not talking NBA here, but look at the whole Anthony Davis Luka trade. Just absolutely abysmal. And it's one of those things that makes you scratch your head. Going back to what we talked about with the cap space and all the money, yes, we don't want to throw all this money around, but two, also, we don't want to be throwing around draft capital and players that we don't need to be drafting or trading for to acquire someone. I am 100% sure the Eagles have not granted there's always a price, but I guarantee you the Eagles have no desire to trade A.J. Brown right now. I don't think they're thinking in their head, man, let's look to trade him. No, sure, he has a rapport with Mike Vrabel, but when we look at it, doesn't make sense for the Patriots. Does not make sense. There are good assets in free agency that we can pick up, that we can pay, that could be number one wide receivers for this franchise, for this team, help out Drake May. But I don't think A.J. Brown's worth it. Comment below. Tell me what you think. And I will say this before we move on to the last thing. I said yesterday in the video we talked wide receivers. We talked about the 7 wide receivers on the team currently. And, you know, we talked about Jackson and Giles, who they could be boom, they could be massive bust. We'll see. Polk Baker, they could kind of resurrect their careers in this second year, their sophomore year under a new head coach and some new coordinators. But I said, personally, I thought the best wide receiver currently is Pop. And I still stand by that. I do agree with a lot of comments that people said Kayshon Boutte is up and coming. I don't disagree with that. He does seem to have a lot of chemistry with Drake May, which is a great thing. And let's not forget, when he was drafted out of LSU, the issues were there was a lot of things kind of circulating with him off the field that was rough. And so I think he would have been a much higher draft pick. But I don't disagree. I think a lot of you make great points on Kayshon Boutte, and I'm excited to see him moving forward. And that might be something for the Patriots as they see him play, where it's like, hey, maybe we really go out and spend on a number one wide receiver in free agency instead of drafting one. And listen, you have someone, number one wide receiver, you have Pop, you have Boutte, and that's a solid 3 right there. Who knows? But again, great points on Boutte. Last but not least, we're still jumping into wide receivers. We are talking about T. Higgins. Apparently, T. Higgins came out with a cryptic message. Man, it has been an absolute roller coaster with T. Higgins. We've talked about potential, hey, he could come here. Well, then he drops a comment, well, hey, I actually like what I got here. The grass is not always greener. Cincinnati, I got Joe Burrow. I got Jamar Chase. We're living the life, kind of, I guess, missing the playoffs this year. But he was franchise tagged $21 million this year. If he was franchise tagged again, it'd be $26 million. But the thing is, he has to sign that. So if he goes into free agency, it is possible, minimum, he's getting paid $30 million. Now, to some maybe lesser teams, some say the Patriots, meaning not looking as good playoff Super Bowl wise. But again, I would disagree. I think the Patriots have a lot to look forward to, but they might have to pay a little more. But T. Higgins dropped the other day, and originally I was like, if you were to tell me, I would probably tell you he's going to stay with the Bengals. But he dropped a cryptic message on Instagram, basically weighing his options. He put a song called "New Blessings," and there a couple words on there that were basically like, "Oh, options are everywhere. Priorities are rare. Options are everywhere." So a lot of people thinking this is the idea that a lot of teams want him. Man's going to want to get paid. So I think this helps crack open the door again for the Patriots, potentially wooing him to New England in the offseason. But we will see what happens. Again, I've taught last season, leading into the season, even during the season, we talked about Brandon Ayuk, and I think there got a point where I was like, I'm tired of talking about Brandon Ayuk. But a lot of Patriots news at the time, a lot of what people were talking about, message boards, wherever, were on Brandon Ayuk. And it was one of those things where it was just like, okay, I'm kind of tired of talking about this. T. Higgins, there's going to get a point where I'm like, all right, when we have some solid evidence that he truly wants to be a free agent and he's moving on and he's in negotiations and he's taking trips different places, blah, 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 I'll bring it to you. But for now, T. Higgins, cryptic messages, crazy trades. Listen, avoid throwing money around. That's common sense. Anyone knows that. But I appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys listening. To all the people every once in a while, very few and far in between, hating me on the comments, I love it. I thrive off it. And I also think it's hilarious. You spend your time writing a comment and watching my video. I love it. Too funny. Too funny. Let the haters hate. Anyways, we'll talk later. My name's Aaron. Hit the subscribe button on your way out. Even if you don't like the show and you got to put a bad comment down there, I'll try to think of something clever to say in the comments. But anyways, we'll talk later. Peace.